Recall that one of these outputs of monitoring the risks are, let's say, updating the risk management or updating the project management plan, including the risk register. So, what can be updated on the risk register? One of these things which can be updated is the risk response adjustment or strategies. So, risk responses adjustment are critical to maintain an effective risk control throughout the project execution. As project progresses, new information often emerges and requiring changes the existing mitigation strategies. So here we'll look into these risk responses, which requires an ongoing adjustment during the project execution and monitoring. We'll also look into how the new information could impact, necessitate changes to let's say, your existing mitigation strategies. We'll also talk about proactive management, how it ensures the risk remains within acceptable thresholds. Start with talking about adjusting the mitigation and contingency plans as part of monitoring the risks and adjusting its risk responses. So, adjusting mitigation and contingency plans is essential to keep the risk responses aligned with the project environment. The mitigation plans here could reduce the probability or the impact of the risks, as well as contingency plan. It provides an alternative action if the risks materializes. Also, by extending the contingency plans, we said about extending the project, maybe a schedule or the timeline, or adding an enough budget to accommodate these new changes on these risks. So ensure as a project manager to have a regular review to ensure the plans remains relevant and effective. What are these secondary and residual risks? So reviewing secondary and residual risks ensures that there is no risks is ignored during the project lifecycle. Secondary risks are emerge as a result of implementing risk responses. Again, so secondary risks emerge as the results of implementing the risk responses, and the residuals or the residual risks, which means the remains after the risk is executed. So ensure that you have a proper or regular evaluation to prevent any overlooked risks from escalating. Proactive risk control. So proactive risk control emphasizes the anticipated risks and taking the early action to mitigate them. Proactive risk control includes identifying the risks before they escalate. Also, it involves continuous monitoring and stakeholder engagement, where it fosters a culture of preparedness and agility. For example, here let's take an IT project, whereas there is, let's say, regular system testing and user feedback sessions can identify the performance issues early. And by enabling timely adjustment, also engaging the stakeholders in risk discussions and updating them on mitigation progresses, it fosters the collaborations and trust, ensuring a collective efforts in risk management. So this forward-looking approach enhances the project's ability to adapt let's say, to the uncertainties effectively. So you start with identifying the risks, you continue monitoring it, you engage with stakeholders, and you make or you build a culture of preparedness. Next, let's talk about the integration with the risk monitoring processes. So, integration risk response adjustment with the monitoring processes ensures the or a seamless and efficient risk management approach. How to integrate that by adjustment, ensuring that the adjustment should align with the ongoing risk monitoring efforts. May also use these tools like it's a cornerstone or corner artifacts that you need to update and keep monitoring, like the risk register and dashboards to track any changes. May also will have to coordinate with the team members to ensure a constant implementation of these risk responses. Let's now take one of these real world examples where there's a risk responses where adjustment or adjusted and implemented. In a large infrastructure project, there is an unexpected weather condition has delayed the critical tasks, such as the concrete pouring. So this is the scenario we're dealing with, and it was listed as one of these project risks. So the project team now has looked at its mitigation strategies and have found that they have to adjust mitigation strategy by, let's say, procuring or uh, pouring the weather resistant materials and rescheduling the activities during a favorable conditions. So this is a way of how you have adjusted your mitigation strategy to face bad weather conditions by adjusting the mitigation strategy from moving the, let's say, to resistant materials and rescheduling activities during the favorable conditions. Additionally, they could increase the workforce to recover the lost time. So this proactive adjustment to the risks responses has minimized the overall impact, keeping the project on track and within budget. But what are the key benefits when adjusting and keeping or continuous monitoring to these risk responses? So adjusting risk responses ensures that the risks remain controlled even as the project conditions evolve. This approach enhances the flexibility, enabling the teams to adapt the uncertainties while maintaining their progress. Again, so the benefit of adjusting and, let's say, adapting with new risk responses or adjusting the risk responses based on the situation or based on the data ensures that the risks remains manageable through the life or the project life cycle. It improves the project flexibility and adaptability. Also, it builds the stakeholder confidence by demonstrating a proactive management. Implementing the risk response adjustment. So again, when we talked about implementing this risk response adjustment, we talked about you have to have regular plan updates to adjust the mitigation strategies and to update your contingency plans as needed once these risks are materialized or the environment of these risks changes. So you need to keep having a regular plan updates to ensure that it's adaptable and flexible. We talked also about the continuous evaluation as one of these important steps to monitor the secondary and residual risks. And also we talked about the proactive control to ensure that these risks that can be addressed before they escalate to the next level. Now let's talk about measuring the effectiveness of these adjustment, which is the biggest, let's say, benefit or the biggest evidence that the risk adjustment strategies are winning. So measuring the effectiveness of the risk responses adjustment is essential to ensure that their success. Metrics such as the reduction and in the likelihood or impact scores, also improvement and schedule adherence or reduced cost variances can provide a valuable insight. So again, the importance of measuring the effectiveness of these risk responses or the risk response adjustments tracks the outcomes of adjusted responses to assess their impact. Also using metrics like the risk reduction percentages or project performance improvement. Finally, incorporating the feedback from the stakeholders and teams to ensure that you have an effective adjustment of your risk responses. For example, here, let's say in an IT project, the adjustment to these risks can address a cybersecurity risk might reduce the number of vulnerabilities which were identified during the regular testing. Stakeholder feedback also plays a critical role in evaluating whether the adjustment are meeting the expectations and achieving the desired results. Finally, to summarize our session by talking about the continuous learning and improvement in risk management. So, continuous learning and process improvement is the cornerstone of effective project management, especially in risk management. By documenting the lessons learned from risks response adjustment, organizations can improve their strategies for future projects. So you as a project manager ensures that you document all of these lessons learned from the adjust responses, also incorporate the findings into future risk management plans, build a culture of continuous improvement. By incorporating these, let's say, strategies, future plans, this will enhance the overall, let's say, approach, managing the risks, controlling the risks, and monitoring these risks, fostering a culture of learning and adaptation.